You didn't wake up one day and decide to be different. You didn't choose to question the tone of the room, the silence after certain comments, or the tension everyone pretended not to feel. You didn't choose to notice what was never said, only what was felt. But somehow, you became that one, the difficult one, the dramatic one, the one who doesn't let things go, the so-called black sheep. And here's the paradox that quietly shaped your entire nervous system. The same awareness that protected you inside your family is now exhausting you in the outside world. You learned early that something wasn't right, not because anyone told you, but because your body knew. Because the rules kept changing, because love felt conditional, because truth was treated like a threat. So you adapted. You became alert. You became perceptive. You became emotionally fluent in an environment that punished emotional honesty. And that adaptation saved you. But now, as an adult, it might feel like you can never fully rest, like you're always scanning the room, like you're always holding something together that no one else even notices is cracking. This video is not here to convince you that your pain was for a reason. It's here to tell you something far more unsettling and far more validating. You were not broken. You were sane in a system that required denial to survive. In dysfunctional family systems, there is an unspoken contract. Stability is maintained not by truth, but by silence. And every system like this unconsciously selects one person to carry what no one else wants to see. Psychology calls this scapegoating. But that word doesn't go far enough, because the scapegoat isn't chosen for being weak. They're chosen for being perceptive. Often, this child experiences projective identification, where unresolved fears, shame, or rage from caregivers are unconsciously placed onto one person. "You're the problem" becomes a way for the system to avoid asking, "What are we refusing to face?" Over time, this creates hypervigilance, a nervous system tuned not to danger, but to emotional instability. You learn to read micro-expressions, tone shifts, energy changes. Your brain's default mode network, the system responsible for self-reflection, became overactive. You weren't just thinking, you were monitoring reality. Many truth-tellers are also parentified early, becoming the regulator, the translator, or the quiet container for adult emotions they were never meant to hold. And neurologically, this wires the brain for survival, not ease. Clarity, not comfort. Truth, not belonging. You didn't imagine the instability. Your nervous system mapped it precisely. But insight has a cost, and the cost is often invisible grief. Grief for the version of you who wanted to belong without betraying yourself. Grief for the simplicity you never had. Grief for the fact that honesty made you lonely. Carl Jung once wrote that, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." For the truth-teller, that terror began early, because you learned that authenticity didn't bring closeness, it brought exile. So you learned to edit yourself, to soften your language, to carry awareness silently, to choose harmony over truth, even when it meant abandoning your own experience. This creates a core fear that follows you into adulthood. If I fully relax, something will fall apart. Rest feels unsafe, ease feels irresponsible, joy feels temporary, even love can feel suspicious, because it isn't asking you to disappear. You weren't afraid of conflict. You were afraid of losing connection by being real. And that fear shaped everything. As adults, truth-tellers don't look wounded. They look capable. But underneath, the patterns are unmistakable. You might feel responsible for emotional clarity in every room, You might struggle with boundaries, then feel guilty when you set them. You might be drawn to emotionally unavailable or chaotic relationships. You over-explain yourself, anticipating misunderstanding. You feel exhausted after social interactions without knowing why. And you question your own needs, while easily validating everyone else's. In careers, they often become the fixer, the translator, the one who sees systemic problems before others do, and pays the emotional price for naming them. In relationships, they confuse intensity with intimacy. Familiar tension feels like connection. Calm feels unfamiliar. These are not personality flaws. They are survival strategies that outlive their original environment. Healing begins not with changing behavior, but with witnessing the pattern without judgment, not asking, "What's wrong with me?" but asking, "What did this once protect me from?" Healing for the truth teller is not about becoming quieter. It's about becoming safer inside yourself. This often involves inner child reparenting, learning to offer the consistency, protection, and validation you never reliably received. It involves shadow work, reclaiming the parts of you labeled as too much or too sensitive. And most importantly, it involves choosing softness, not as weakness, but as a corrective experience. You don't need to carry reality alone anymore. The goal was never to be fixed. The goal was to become whole. As philosopher Søren Kierkegaard wrote, the most painful state of being is remembering the future, particularly the one you'll never have. But there is a future you can have, one where your clarity no longer costs you your peace. You were never the black sheep. You were the one brave enough to tell the truth. And that truth, when finally met with safety, becomes wisdom. If this resonated, share it with someone who always felt different but never broken. And remember, awareness is not your burden anymore. Thank you for watching until the very end. Comment the phrase, "I am the truth teller," to mark your place and honor your reality. The goal was never to fit in. It was always to be free. Welcome home.